Hello and welcome to ABG Fireside Chat. My name is Albert Mullerbrook. I work as an equity research analyst here. And with me today I have Jean-Marie Mognetti, the CEO of CoinShares. Welcome, Jean-Marie.
Thank you for having me, Albert. I'm very happy to be here.
Great, great. All right, so you work for CoinShares, your company. So maybe we could start by you briefly describing what you do. What's your business model? How do you earn money?
How do we earn money? That's the secret sauce. So CoinShares is an asset management company. We're an investment firm. We mainly operate two principal pillars. One is passive asset management. We make money based on AUM, so it's fees on AUM, like basis point on AUM. And on the other side, our capital market infrastructure, which is a function of the spread we capture on the volume we trade. We are progressively migrating this capital market infrastructure to one more hedge fund solution type asset management. So as eventually that will become like a management fee and performance fee type of model.
Mm-hmm. All right, very good. And these asset management products or exchange traded products they are called. How do you differentiate them? They are passive and active products on digital currencies, digital assets. What differentiates you from competitors?
Well, look, we are doing this job for 10 years. So CoinShares is a brand which is established, which is listed in Stockholm on the main market. So it's a grown-up brand, a grown-up franchise, which is not going anywhere anytime soon. So we're here for the long term. We're here to grow. We're here to develop ourselves. So that's one of the key considerations when you start allocating money to a provider. You need to make sure it's staying there for the long time. And then the way we are structuring our structure is superior. The way our product trade, we have a better bid-ask spread, better fee structure, and to some degree we are also always trying to innovate. So we always bring to the market new type of product. We're the first one to bring staking out of as a product to the market. So plenty of stuff make us very unique in the market and very different from our competitor.
And 10 years in the digital asset space, that's a long time.
Feel like a dinosaur.
Yeah. Yeah, and innovation then. All right, so we can establish that you are market leading in Europe with a 45% market share, about that. And you recently entered the US market this January through an acquisition of Valkyrie. So maybe if you could tell us a little bit about the acquisition. Has it developed according to your plan?
Yeah, so the acquisition was really a way for us to have an expression in the US market of an ETF product. You know, the ETF or ETPs have been in Europe for 10 years now, in crypto specifically. They were not present at all in the US. So we were at the beginning very reluctant to have an expression in the US because we don't really have a way to compete with a BlackRock or Fidelity. However, when the Valkyrie opportunity presented itself, it was one of these non-performing assets, which was a great amount of interest for us because we say, okay, we know exactly how to restructure that, turn it around, and bring it back to the market in a different way. So we spent the first part of the year integrating this business, redeveloping it, turning it around, restructuring, staffing differently, and we start to see the first benefit of it. And we anticipate that by the end of the year, this business should be, give or take, at a break-even point on a monthly basis. And from then, we can start think about future growth.
And this acquisition, you should have, between the markets, you should have sales synergies, right? That the products you have in Europe, you should be able to launch similar ones in the US. Is that correct?
So I'm not really sure we have sales synergy in terms of personal per se, because realistically, people selling in the US are really dedicated to the US market and regulated under the US market, and the European market is a different market. The synergy came from all the general services, all the research, all the marketing, which can be commingled into one pool of operation. And then it comes from the product origination. You know, like some product we have in the US doesn't exist in Europe and could find a very good expression in Europe. Same thing, we have some very great product in Europe which doesn't exist in the US. And the idea is like, how do we cross-sell by recreating effectively a vehicle in the US which replicate what we're doing in Europe and vice versa. So there is some very interesting cross-pollination, if you were, to be able to move that forward as a global franchise.
Sounds great. And speaking of the competitive landscape then, you have a bit of a first mover advantage in Europe, and then there's an emerging market in the US. So could you maybe speak a little bit about the competitive landscape, your competitors, and I assume it's quite a sticky customer base since you have retained them for so long in Europe.
So first of all, the customer base of this kind of business is very, very sticky, very, very retail driven. And we have customer which has been with us in Sweden specifically under the franchise XBT provider by CoinShares for more than 10 years. So there is a long-standing relationship with some customers. There's a loyalty of customer to the brand which makes them a lot of money. You know, we have this kind of funny joke internally, which is very difficult to prove by data, but we believe that XBT provider probably created as a financial product the most millionaire in Europe in terms of investment by capita. So that was an interesting fact. And you know, when it comes to the competition, you know, we need to differentiate two things. You need to differentiate the crypto native competition, like asset management company from a crypto background. Not many in Europe, more in the US. And these company in general are fueled by VC money or PE money, are not profitable. So really operating a different kind of business than we are. You know, CoinShares is profitable since 2016, so very, very different kind of tonality in the way we spend money and look at ROI and return on capital or return of capital for our client. None of them are listed either, so it's kind of create a different kind of approach. And then the kind of the real competition for us, like how do we differentiate ourselves vis-a-vis the traditional finance distribution partner like BlackRock or Fidelity or WisdomTree, and at that point it becomes a different challenge. It's like we are not a supermarket of financial services. We don't sell any kind of ETF in the world. Our sales team and distribution team is only focusing on selling crypto day in, day out, whether it's a bear market or a bull market. We always educate the market. So we're positioning ourselves really on this expert and expertise kind of segment where people are coming to CoinShares because they want to get the value added of the expert in the sector.
So yeah, you provide many multi-asset products and staking and stuff. And speaking a little bit of the US then, the regulatory attitude improved a lot in 2024. So maybe if you could speak a little bit about the approval of the spot ETFs and maybe mention how that compares to Europe then.
It improved a lot, but it comes from, you know, there's a lot to catch up with, let's put it this way. So it looks like a lot of improvement. It's still very, very much behind. So the improvement is a good sign. It's going in the right direction. There is much more which certainly going to happen after the US election. And the US election will be something interesting to see how it plays. As you can see, crypto has been discussed, not really much last night, but before it had been discussed pretty much by all the kind of side of the political spectrum. So it was an interesting thing. Now, when it comes to Europe versus US, Europe is now implementing MiCA, waiting for MiCA to be live. The difference between Europe and the US is Europe is like a lot of different countries who need to implement this and to make it work in their own country, while the US, when they decide to go and press play, it will be just one regulation for the entire states. So you may have some friction there on the implementation function. The US has always been very good at requalifying themselves even late in the race. You can see it with mining, where they were like completely absent of it, and all of a sudden they become number one. So there is a lot of positive things coming from the US, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have a proper, consistent and clear legislation by the end of H125.
So a lot more to come. Sounds exciting. And regarding your future then, you have recently entered the US market. So how do you proceed from here? Is it about expanding the product portfolio? Is it new geographies? Are you looking at M&A or?
Yeah, look, so the way to think about CoinShares is like really standing on two legs, you know, like, so we are small enough and agile enough to be able to remain opportunistic. At the same time, we're spending a lot of time focusing on how do we grow the business from an internal perspective. So from a pure internal development, you know, there is plenty of new frontier market to address in Europe. There is, you know, the simple UCIT market in Europe is still untouched, and that's an enormous pool of capital which need to allocate to crypto eventually. So the narrative here is pretty much there, and we need to find a way to keep addressing this demand, which is going to graduate over time. You know, the LSE in London is still closed. Borsa Italiana is also closed in Italy. So there's still pockets of growth in an internal manner, organic manner within Europe. Coming to the US, you know, the growth there need to be I would say, adjacent or complementary to what is offered by the major. We can't really go compete on Bitcoin with Fidelity or BlackRock. So it's how do we create something a bit smarter in terms of like our product offering. And then talking globally, you know, we always said that we wanted CoinShares to be a global franchise. So the idea is like, how do we start doing some M&A roll-ups so as we can start to bring more AUM within CoinShares through tactical acquisition, non-performing asset. And to go back to the point I was mentioning before, a lot of these crypto asset management franchise are losing money with Bitcoin at 60,000. So at what point does this roll the towel and need an integrator? And CoinShares need to be this integrator.
It makes sense to consolidate with,
Correct.
yeah, larger firm eventually then. All right, exciting. And you kind of recently implemented a dividend policy. The payout ratio is quite low, maybe indicating that you have reinvestment opportunities still. So could you maybe explain a little bit about the rationale behind that?
Yeah, it's funny because the rationale, even internally, has been sometimes lost. And you know, we have to explain to our team and to our colleagues that it's not because we pay a dividend that the company has nothing else to do with its money. It's like the company has to stand by its employee, but also stand by its shareholder, which are demonstrating loyalty over the years to stay with the brand. In the 5% interest rate environment in the US, our stock didn't really perform extraordinarily well on the Stockholm stock market. If you you know, we are higher than the IPO price, we are higher than our low price as well, but we're not high, we're not at an all-time high, despite crypto being at a pretty important level and our own revenue being better than what they were when we listed our company. So we're in a much better position, and still yet it's not reflected in our share price. So, you know, we have sufficient cash to finance our growth. You know, the question is not about spending all our money. The question is about spending the money which can be spent the right way for where we want the company to be, or more where the market expects the company to be right now. Because there's no point, you know, waiting for the market to come to us. We need to be with the right company at the right time in the right market. So there's no point to overspend. And at the same time, if we can give back a bit of money to our shareholder, we're very happy to do it. And if one day we need to raise money, this same shareholder which receive money back from us will know that, well, this guy gave me back money one day, so I should be able to play a game with him.
Yeah. And it's an expression of your profitability compared to your competitors.
It's a signal of strength, if anything. It's not a signal of like we are done or we want to just give back the money. It's a signal of strength that we can keep growing. You know, we buy Valkyrie this year. We are looking at M&A deal every single quarter. There is some stuff coming on our desk, so we're not stopping to look. And I'm sure if there is something required for us to acquire, we will be there. Whether it's through hard cash, debt financing, or equity financing, we have the entire panoply of financing means at our disposal, so we can keep growing.
All right. And well, looking forward again then, you have had entrance into the US market. You are earning a lot of money in Europe. But if you were to highlight something, what are you looking forward to the most in the remainder of 2024?
I'm looking at the balance sheet of the Fed.
Okay.
The balance sheet of the Fed is a very, very interesting indicator for Bitcoin, and especially to see if it's going to keep growing or going to keep shrinking. And that's going to be a very good indicator for Bitcoin trajectory. I'm also looking at the US election, which will be very important for potential crypto regulation in the US. And finally, I'm looking at the carry trade in Japan, because the unwinding of the carry trade, depending how it's happened, will have some consequences on the Fed balance sheet through the swap line between the central bank and, more importantly, on crypto. So all this kind of stuff are very, very much on our radar before the end of the year.
Yeah, lots to look forward to regarding the sentiment there. All right. I think that was everything we had time for. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Albert, for having CoinShares. That was great.
All right. Thank you, listeners.